right, so Donald Trump says he is going to slap 100% tariffs on countries who drop the US dollar as the reserve currency. Watch this.
If a country tells me, sir, we like you very much, but we're going to no longer adhere to being in the reserve currency, we're not going to salute the dollar anymore, I'll say that's okay. And you're going to pay a 100% tariff on everything you sell into the United States. And we love your product. I hope you sell a lot of it into the United States, but you're going to pay 100% tariff. He will then follow it up by saying, sir, it would be an honor to stay with the reserve currency. That will be like just playing. That's not even chess, that's checkers. But you don't have other, listen to this, you don't have other people that can talk that way.
Okay, is that true? Is this chess, not checkers? Is this like a wow, we got you in checkmate sort of move? So I actually asked this question on my Twitter account. I posted this clip and I asked the question, who pays the tariff? Because I think there's a lot of confusion on this. People think, oh, wow, he's going to slap a 100% tariff on these countries. Like, you know, if China drops the dollar as the reserve currency, or Brazil. So he's talking mostly about these BRICS countries, BRICS being Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. There's other countries who have now joined BRICS as permanent members. There's now Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia. I believe they're fully announcing that they have joined, and the United Arab Emirates. There's also several countries, a slew of countries who've requested to join: Cuba, Azerbaijan, Algeria, Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Turkey has also asked to join. There's many, many more who've expressed interest, but they haven't put in a formal application to join BRICS. So there's this growing worry that the United States, that the reserve currency is going to be dropped for another currency, or just there'll be maybe two reserve currencies sort of in the world. That has been a concern, especially since Saudi Arabia did not renew the petrodollar agreement. So they're not bound to sell oil using United States dollars like they used to be. That agreement is gone. So there's this concern, and Trump's addressing it, saying, I'll slap 100% tariff on them. So when people hear that, a lot of people believe what that means is, let's say it's Brazil, and we're talking specifically about them, that if Brazil wants to import goods into the United States, or China wants to import goods in the United States, that it would be double the cost, essentially. So if something's going to cost $10, it would cost $20. A 100% tariff would be slapped on, and that would be the cost of the good. So it goes way up, especially on things that are really expensive, like iPhones that are made in China or whatever it is, right? So if it's electronics, it would be really expensive. Food prices would obviously go up if we're importing food from these countries, if they're selling to us. And the way that works is, you have a private business here in the United States, you're a business owner, and you've got a shop, and you import your goods in from Brazil and China, let's say, and South Africa, and suddenly they drop the dollar as the reserve currency, and Trump says, all right, a 100% tariff. Who has to pay the tariff? Is it China? Is it Russia? Is it well, it wouldn't be Russia because we don't trade with them right now, but is it Brazil or is it China? So who has to pay that double the price? That's the question. A lot of people on Twitter, this was the answer, and maybe you're answering it in your head right now. One person said, this was AM Team Unity, said the country wanting to do business in the U.S. pays by making things in the U.S. He says, but I was not a fan of tariffs. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I can understand this tweet. The country wanting to do business in the U.S. by making things in the U.S. That part doesn't make sense. I was not a fan of tariffs. I prefer them over the alternatives, offshoring or the end of commercial relations. A lot of people say, let me see if I could find some more that say, but a lot of people said it's the country, obviously, that we're imposing tariffs onto. I've had way more comments since I last looked at this, so sorry. There's a little, anyway, yeah, like Michael Crane writes the countries when I ask who pays the tariff, and he says the countries. A lot of people said that. The real answer is the importer pays. That's who pays the tariff. So if you are the business owner and you're importing goods from Brazil or from China, and they now have a tariff on them, we are not able to tax foreign countries. Just think about that for 2 seconds. Can the United States, do we have the right and the ability to tax a foreign country, and that money then goes to the government of the United States? No, we do not have that ability to tax foreign countries. We can only tax our own people, Those are the only people who could be taxed, okay? So a tariff, the way it works is, let's say you're the American company, you're selling goods from a country with tariffs imposed. When your goods arrive at the port of entry in your country, customs authorities assess the tariffs onto the goods that arrive. And they look at the value, they look at the types of goods, they figure out where they're from, and the customs authority says, oh, this has a tariff slapped on it. The tariff then must be paid before the goods can clear clearance through customs. This means you need to settle the tariff. So you either need to do it when the goods are being processed by the customs or through the customs clearance procedure. You pay the tariff directly to the country's custom authority. So that would be the United States. You pay directly to your country's customs authority, typically through a customs broker or a freight forwarder handling the importation. The customs agency then collects the tariff and deposits it into the government's treasury. This is an American tax that goes straight to the US government. Now, if you are a business and you're selling goods to another country and they have tariffs on the United States, you pay that then, and you're selling the goods from the United States, you actually don't pay that. It's whoever you're selling to. Let's say China does a reverse tariff on us and they slap tariffs on us, and you happen to sell a lot of products over in China and you're shipping them from San Francisco to China. Whoever bought them, whoever the distributor, whoever is your wholesaler who decided to purchase a crate full of your stuff that they're going to then distribute throughout China, that person has to pay China the tariff. Now, if you're a company, if you're an international company and you're doing business and maybe you've got a manufacturing plant in China and you're now going to ship the goods over to the United States, then yeah, you would be hit because you're shipping the goods in and you're receiving them by your own company is once again receiving them here in the United States. The American branch of your company, so if you have a Chinese headquarters or a Chinese office and manufacturing hub, and you're manufacturing the shoes and you then ship the shoes and your company's going to receive the shoes in the United States, and yes, you as the company would have to pay for that tariff because but that's only because you happen to be in both countries. But it's that price always ends up getting passed down to the consumer. So, because if you're a business and you're operating and you're ordering a freight full of stuff from China and now the price is double, how are you going to afford that? You're going to pass that down to the customer. So we, the people, go shopping and suddenly the price of the good is higher. We've seen that with inflation. We saw that during COVID when it was like, well, we have a supply chain problem, so everything's really, really expensive. Yes, when there's a supply chain problem, which is what this would create, a supply chain problem. Because a lot of companies would say, well, then never mind, I'm not going to import goods from the foreign country that has the tariff on it. I can't afford it. Now, tariffs, the whole premise and the idea of a tariff, this is where Donald Trump is using this in a way that I don't think is the right way to use a tariff. And that is because tariffs aren't meant to be punishment of foreign countries because they're not getting the tax. They're like, yeah, we're still making the goods for this price. Your people are just going to have to pay double for it, I guess. I mean, if that's what you want to do, slap the 100% tariff on your own people, then that's your choice. What will that do? That could harm the manufacturing company or the country because they're now receiving fewer orders. So yeah, they're going to see sales decline and that could hurt them in that way. But you're also hurting the American business. You're hurting everybody in the chain, in the supply chain of that good. The reason why you'd want to ever implement tariffs and the reason why countries developed these to begin with was to protect domestic industries. That's what a tariff is for. It's okay, we are a country heavily dependent on, maybe we're manufacturing a lot of shoes, right? Just as an example, we manufacture tons of shoes. Suddenly China comes along and says, well, we manufacture shoes too, but we do it for a lot less. So you want to order the shoes from us. But you've got a major shoe company, hundreds of thousands of people are employed in this country making shoes. Suddenly, if the consumers start buying the cheaper shoes from China, you're going to see a lot of American workers laid off. So what do? You want to protect the American workers from being laid off. So you impose tariffs on the foreign shoes in order to raise the price up so that it's at the same level, if not more expensive, in order to protect your domestic industry. That's what a tariff is supposed to be for. It's not to punish other countries. It's to protect domestic industries. But what domestic industries do we have to protect? So we don't really use tariffs that much because we don't really have much to manufacture, much that we protect here. So now tariffs in Donald Trump's mind are going to be used to punish these other countries. Look, I mean, this is why China, to think that this is going to hurt China, for example, it's just not. They are actively developing the whole continent of Africa in order to ensure that they have more consumers. They're building up those nations. They're getting them to the point where they become consumer countries. They buy stuff. They want cheap goods. They're going to get them and they will replace us because there's way more of them. We have 330 million people in the United States. We are replaceable as far as the market consumption goes. All you have to do is go somewhere else to a different market. India, they're developing relationships with India. India wants cheap goods. They get them from China. They've replaced us 5 times over with India. With Africa, the entire continent of Africa, they've replaced us many times over with the population of Africa. They just have to get those people to the level of where they're going to consume a bunch of stuff like American consumers. And that's not that difficult to do because there's a lot of people in the world and we're only 330 million of them. So just, you can make up your own mind what you think of Donald Trump and his tariff idea. I'm curious what you think of it. I'm just explaining the reality of it, that the country of origin of the good does not pay the tariff. We do not have the legal ability to tax foreign countries. Our government, unfortunately, only taxes us, and they tax us heavily. Now, of course, like I said, if you're a foreign country and you're operating also in the United States and you're shipping in goods from your country of origin, let's say you're a Chinese company operating in China and you have a manufacturing plant in China and you're importing them in, then yes, you pay for them, but it's always on the domestic side that pays for it. So a lot of Americans get caught up in this. It's not just something that, we slap it on China and then, they have to pay. That's not the way tariffs work. That's just the fact of it. So then, the question is this really truly a good strategy? Does Trump really believe it's a good strategy, or is he just saying these talking points because he knows that half the people out there think that tariffs are paid by the country, like it's a fine on the country, and they think, oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, fine them, hurt them, not realizing it actually hurts themselves. Really curious what you think. Email me, kim@kimiverson.com. Would absolutely love to hear from you. Tell me what you think. Thank you so much for watching. This was just a clip from the longer, larger show that you can catch Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. That'll route you to the platform where you need to be in order to get the full uncensored show every Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Click on that link, watch the full interview. See you there.